Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So the response to the part 1 of our Power BI interview series was really amazing. Thank you for all the likes and the great feedback you sent straight to my DMs. So today we are diving into the part 2 of the top 6 Power BI interview questions and answers. So drawing on my 5 plus years of experience as a developer, I have dug even deeper for this round. Okay, so I won't spoil the questions just yet, but I will say this that these are the real world curveballs hiring managers use to separate the beginners from the experts. Okay, so whether you are aiming for your first role or a senior position, grab a notebook, hit the subscribe button, and let's dive straight in. So let's start with the first interview question. What is the difference between a table visual and a matrix visual? Okay, so both table and matrix are used to display data. Okay, but they serve different purposes. Okay, so a table visual displays data in a flat structure. Okay, so every row is shown independently, just like an Excel table. Okay, so it doesn't support expand or collapse functionality, or it cannot show subtotals. Okay, so it is mainly used when the business wants to see the detailed transactional records. Okay, so when each and every record is useful for the business, they can show it in a table visual. On the other hand, a matrix visual displays data in a hierarchical structure. Okay, so it supports expand and collapse row and column subtotal features and also allow drill down capabilities. Okay, so because of these features, it is very much similar to an Excel pivot table. Okay, so let's understand with this example shown here. So we have sales data containing region, category and sales. Okay, so if I use a table visual, all the records will simply appear one below other. Okay, but if I use a matrix visual, the data gets grouped by region. Okay, so when I expand the east region, I can see the electronics and furniture under east region. Okay, and I will be able to see the total sales for east region. Okay, so similarly, if I expand or collapse the west region, I will be able to see the data for the west region. Okay, so whenever you need detailed records, use a table visual, but whenever you need a summarized analysis with hierarchy and subtotals, matrix is a better choice. Okay, so we will understand some of the differences for a table and a matrix. So a table is a 2D structure visual, a matrix is a 3D structure visual. A table supports features such as conditional formatting, filtering and sorting, whereas matrix supports drill down functionalities. Okay, so table is used for displaying the raw data, whereas matrix is used for analyzing the raw data. Okay, so these are some of the differences you can say to the interviewer, and these are the most important differences between a table and a matrix. Okay, so now coming to the next question, what is the difference between Power BI Pro, Premium per user and Premium capacity license? Okay, so now let's understand the different Power BI licensing options. Okay, so Microsoft provides 3 major licenses depending on the organization's reporting requirements. Okay, so the first one is Power BI Pro license. Okay, so it is designed for individual users or small teams. Okay, so it allows users to publish reports, share reports, collaborate with users and schedule up to 8 data refreshes per day. Okay, so one important point to remember is that every user who creates or views the report must have a pro license. Okay, so the second type of license is Premium per user, also called PPU license. Okay, so it includes everything available in Pro along with the premium features such as AI capabilities, paginated reports, larger data models, incremental refresh, deployment pipelines and XML endpoints. Okay, so similar to Pro, every user still needs to have a PPU license to access these reports. So both Power BI Pro and Premium per user is a user based license. Okay, so every user needs to have this license in order to access the features. Okay, so it's a user based license. Okay, so finally we have Premium capacity license. So instead of purchasing licenses for every employee, the organization purchases dedicated Power BI capacity. Okay, so in this case, only report creators require a Pro or PPU license, while the report viewers can access the reports without even purchasing individual licenses. Okay, so provided that the reports are hosted on Premium capacity license. Okay, so now if we compare them, Pro cost around $10 per user per month. Okay, PPU cost around $20 per user per month. Okay, whereas premium capacity starts at thousands of US dollars per month. Okay, depending on the capacity purchased. Okay, so coming to the next differences, Pro supports up to 8 schedule refreshes per day. Okay, while PPU and premium capacity supports 48 schedule refreshes per day. Okay, so similarly, the maximum semantic model size increases from 1 GB in Pro to 100 GB in PPU and up to 400 GB in premium capacity, depending on the capacity settings. Okay, so if a small team has only a few users, Power BI Pro is sufficient. Okay, so if developers require advanced enterprise features, then PPU is a better option. Okay, and if thousands of employees needs to consume reports across the organization, then premium capacity must be the ideal choice. Okay, so coming to the next question, what is the difference between all selected and all except? Okay, so all selected and all except are all filter modifier functions. Okay, so in simple words, they change the filter context of a calculation. Okay, so let's understand them one by one. Okay, so first, the all function removes every filter from the specified table or column. Okay, so in the example shown here, the percentage of sales is calculated using the calculate together with all of sales. Okay, so since all removes every filter, the total sales remain constant regardless of any slicer or filter applied on the report. Okay, so next there is all selected. Okay, so suppose the report contains a year slicer. Okay, and the user selects the year only for 2026. Okay, so inside the matrix we have monthly sales, right? So when we calculate the running total using all selected, it removes only the current row context while still respecting the user selections which is made through the slicer. Okay, so this is why all selected is commonly used in running total calculations. Okay, so finally we have all except function. Okay, so this function removes all the filters except the column specified inside the function. Okay, so in our example, all except keeps only the region filter while removing every other filter applied to the sales table. Okay, so remember this simple rule: all removes every filter, all selected keeps the user selected filters, and all except keeps only the specified columns and removes everything else. Okay, so coming to the next question, give the difference between related and related table. Okay, so this question tests whether you actually understand relationships in Power BI. Okay, so remember one simple rule: related brings one value from the one side to the many side. Okay, so suppose you have a customer table and a sales table. Okay, the sales table only contains customer IDs. Okay, but your business wants to display the customer names. Okay, so since each customer ID corresponds to only one customer, related fetches that single value into the sales table. Okay, so now let's look at the related table function. Okay, so imagine you are sitting in the customer table and want to know how many orders each customer has placed. Okay, so each customer can have many orders, right? So related table, what it does, it returns all those related sales records which you can then count using count rows or using aggregate functions such as sumx. Okay, so the easiest way to remember this is related goes from many side to the one side and returns a single value, whereas related table goes from one side to the many side and returns multiple rows. Okay, so interviewers love asking this because it immediately tells them whether you truly understand star schema relationships or not. Okay, so coming to the next question, give the difference between same period last year and parallel period. Okay, so both of these are time intelligent functions. Okay, but they solve slightly different business problems. Okay, so suppose today's report is showing the sales from 10th of January 2026 to 20th of January 2026. Okay, so if you use same period last year, then Power BI returns 10th of January 2025 to 20th of January 2025. Okay, so it preserves the exact date range, making it perfect for year over year comparisons. Okay, So now if you consider parallel period, so instead of matching the exact dates, it shifts the entire period. Okay, so if January 2026 is selected and you shift by 1 year, then Power BI returns the entire January 2025 period. Okay, so you can simply shift by months or quarters, making parallel period much more flexible. Okay, so think of this way, that same period last year compares the same dates, whereas parallel period compares the same period. Okay, so that's the easiest way to remember the difference during an interview. Okay, so another important additional question that the interviewers love to ask is, when you use parallel period, it helps you to go to a particular period in terms of year, quarter or month, right? But what function you will use when you want to go to a particular date in terms of number of days? Okay, so you want to go to a particular date in terms of number of days. Okay, so you will say that you have to use date add dax function. Okay, so this serves as a difference between date add and parallel period dax function. So date add allows you to go to a particular date in terms of number of days also, okay, which parallel period cannot do. So parallel period helps you to go to a particular date in terms of number of months, number of quarters and number of years. Okay, so coming to the last question, why do we need use relationship DAX function? Okay, so let's finish with one of the most frequently asked DAX interview questions, which is use relationship. So a Power BI model can contain multiple relationships between two tables. Okay, but only one relationship can be active at a given point of time. Okay, so in our example, the sales table contains both an order date and a delivery date, right? But the relationship between the order date and the date table is active, whereas the relationship between the delivery date and the date table is inactive. So by default, whenever we calculate sales, Power BI uses the active order date relationship. Okay, but suppose the business asks us to analyze sales based on the delivery date instead of the order date. So in that case, we don't need to create another date table. Okay, so instead of that, we can use relationship DAX function inside calculate. Okay, so for that specific measure, Power BI temporarily activates the inactive delivery date relationship and performs the calculation using delivery date. Okay, so once the calculation is completed, Power BI automatically switches back to the original active relationship. Okay, so this is why use relationship is commonly used whenever a fact table contains multiple date columns like order date, delivery date, ship date, and different business scenarios require analysis on different dates. Okay, so that's it for today's video. I hope these 6 Power BI interview questions have boosted your confidence for your next interview. So if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel. And also let me know in the comments which Power BI interview question you would like me to cover next. Okay, so thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video. Until then, keep learning, keep practicing and keep growing. Thank you so much.